first or exactly whatever. It's if I didn't know what you're looking for, in case it comes back as the first thing to say is what's the real.
Okay.
Yeah.
We might gonna be like evil, but sound like 3, 4.
Oh, my, oh.
And that's just the no, right? That's the same thing. That's killed.
I was going to talk to you.
What's up? Hey, how are you?
I turned it on.
You got your dinner in your pocket there?
Oh, yeah.
Next week. We'll see.
That's what I'm worried about.
Dinner in your pocket there? Now we're just. I'm not gonna get.
I can see and I can hear.
State statute says you can serve in the capacity of
announcement, you know, and I need to go.
I'm still in DC, but I haven't resigned from the state statute that says you can. No, I'm saying capacity you know, I need to follow up.
Okay.
I don't know what happened like with my.
You're 29.
Oh, yeah, well, I'm asking, what you read the notice, you know, what they can and can't say.
I tell us I spurred us.
Yes, just because I have.
Craziness, it's not like.
I'll tell you the gavel, yeah. Okay? Mesqua?
This side of the table.
You know, the focus.
It does, but it's probably my last.
I do know that we'll hear much from. I've heard it. I get nothing else from you.
Sign up, you can sign up, you have to sign
I
up.
am with the party, but.
You have to sign up. They don't send them to you automatically.
I know. So, probably over time, I get it. But like how he works to give us. It's random updates. I mean, and I have registered everything.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our November 8th, 2023 West-MEC regular board meeting. I hope everyone had a wonderful week and weekend. Welcome, Ms. Brown, please note the attendance. Next is opening my items. We need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented or recommend changes to the order. And I have something. I received a call last night from Mr. Strucka due to a personal emergency, and then today, this morning, that he would not be in attendance. There is an action item on sick and vacation time that he's been asking for a long time. And I would entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented, except table item on sick and vacation time, and I will make that motion. Is there a second?
Second that.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay. None? Hearing none, members, please cast your vote.
Just give me a second.
Okay.
Really second by you, Wilson.
Once we see the. Okay, and the motion carries 5 yes and 1 nay, so the motion passes. Thank you, members. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I just want to bring up to the podium our professional Department of Specialist, Patrick Clausen. Mr. Clausen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Okay, next on the agenda is summary of current events. Superintendent Dr. Spurgeon, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pingarelli. Just a few things I want to mention. We were able to take a tour of the Pima County Community College a couple of weeks or so ago to get a chance to tour with DLR and see their new CNC manufacturing, some of their advanced manufacturing, some of their IT security, and got to see their automotive, a brand new automotive building. So just to get some ideas about what some things we might be able to look at for our Southeast campus. Since we last met, we had our first Arizona Education Economic Commission meeting, the AEEC, and that's going very well. We have a number of partners that have signed on now to help push the agenda for career and technical education forward and really look to provide some resources to create some apprenticeships and or pre-apprenticeships opportunities for our kids, which is one thing we don't have in Arizona. We have very few of those. And it's somewhat of a complicated process. There's federal rules that govern that. There's also some Arizona rules that govern that. So we're hoping to push that through as well. Got a chance to do a surprise council conversation show with Vice Mayor Chris Judd, which was posted and shown on the Surprise Channel 11, and it's available to take a look at. Thought that went really well. Good conversation with Vice Mayor Judd. We had a chance to meet with Pipeline AZ. Pipeline AZ is a career and technical education search engine, and it's full of just all kinds of information around college and career opportunities. So we're looking to use Pipeline AZ as the backbone of our new Career Literacy 2.0. So that'll be the research piece that students will be able to go in, and there'll be a jumping off page for West-MEC specifically for students in our 29 programs to be able to do that research, to be able to produce that student career pathway plan. So we're very excited about the work we're doing there. Had a tremendous Experience Orange event. I believe Ms. Boosum and Mr. Ramirez were there for the Experience Orange, kind of a yearly event. We always get different folks that are there, so it went really well. Just kind of a West-MEC 101 if you want to learn more about that. What I'm really excited about is Julie Rodriguez and the CNI department and myself, we've been attending some curriculum meetings with TSMC, looking at 4 different technician positions. About the roles and responsibilities, and we actually have technicians that are sitting on those conversations to let us know specifically what they're looking for in hiring new employees. And I was at one day before yesterday for the equipment technician. And so Scott Holman promised me that there would be technicians sitting with us as we develop curriculum, design programs, look at credentials, and look at the kinds of folks that we would be training and in technical areas for TSMC. So just phenomenal conversations where you don't get a lot of that in other places. For TSMC, we're getting a lot of that good information for us to design, looking at the end from the beginning, which is fantastic. Also had a chance to do a Times Media interview for the PIR Phoenix Raceway partnership, and that was fantastic. That came out earlier this past week, and I think we may have even made the front page of the West Valley News. I think that was our little piece there. The last thing I want to mention is I always like to track numbers. You know me, I'm kind of a data guy, and so we just had our open houses, and so I like to track numbers about the total visits per program, and then the number of students that actually signed in to participate in those open houses. At the central campus, we had 134 total classroom visits and 81 signed in students, which is an increase of 63% for total visit programs and 33% increase in the number of students signing in. At our Northwest campus, we had 414 total visits to programs, 224 students signed in. That's an increase of 68% for visiting programs and 46% increase for students signing in. At our Southwest campus, total visits to programs was 511. That's a 36% increase over last year, and 270 students signed in, which is a 36% increase over last year as well. And at the Northeast campus, we had 160 programs visited for a 90% increase, almost doubled that from last year. And we had 98 students that signed in for a 63% increase. So overall, we had 1,219 total visits to the programs, which is a 55% increase over last year. And 673 students signed in for 42% increase over last year. So there's been a real increase in the interest and the participation from our parents and our community and our students. And so that's a really, really good solid number to really track and to understand kind of what our reach is out in the community and where parents are becoming more actively involved. So
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Dr. Spurgeon. So moving on for board members, any current events or discussion, not discussion, but current events that you would like to discuss?
I would like.
Yes, yes, sir.
So I was brought into a conversation with a new initiative that's going to be coming out real soon. It's going to be called Build It AZ. And Build It AZ, the discussions that we had with a lot of partnerships throughout the state centered around how youth can work for companies, and the concern got brought up about insurance. And apparently some states are providing insurance to their students as they work for companies. And we're trying to remedy that with grants and other stuff. So that's interesting. I would love to see West-MEC take the lead as a CT partner to that program once it gets launched. It should be announced next week. And then more kind of a discussion on how we can how a student can go from high school under 21 straight to a workforce. What kind of dilemmas that's going to bring is going to be important, because that'll give us a career pathway from our students to direct employer. And if we can identify any kind of shortcomings or conversations in that, I think that'd be great and very helpful.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Garcia. Ms. Bosom, you had something.
Yeah, on the 19th, we went to the West-MEC dinner awards for the Best of the West. That was fun. And then on October 24th, we had our community engagement with A Faster Way Forward and CJ and Stephen Welsh. Let's see who else. Several people, and then we had some of our legislators there and the community there learned about West-MEC. And and these were all families from anywhere from the 5th through the 9th grade, and it really turned out really well. So it was refreshing to see. So that was fun. And then after that, the next day I went to the Phoenix Raceway kickoff. So I got to see the brand new car and that was pretty cool. And then on the 27th, I attended the IT Security Advisory Committee. And then on the 1st, I attended the Medical Assisting Advisory Committee. And then November 11th, I actually met with Sparenta Cleese, with Brent Cobb and his new 501c nonprofit. He, I think we've talked about this before with one of our students. His name is Wyatt Brumley. And he works with Brent every single Saturday, helping the homeless, caring for their wounds and stuff like that. So Brent is currently going through the motions of getting it to be a real 501c3 with insurance, everything. I'd like to see, maybe that come into fruition for work-based learning. I think it teaches our kids compassion and looking at another human being without judgment. And I think there's some of the things that we're going to need for our students that are looking to become an EMT or a firefighter. They need to have those kind of skills. And that was about it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mhm.
Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, yes. Yeah, I attended Experience Orange. Was it last week? Last week, a couple of weeks ago, time flies. Yeah, and I sat with some administrators from some of the partners high schools that we work with. And two of the concerns that they voiced were, one is just finding ways. Apparently they're having a harder time motivating students to attend school. Apparently they're having issues with attendance rates, just absences increasing. And then the second one was issues with transportation. And so I'm glad that we've been talking about that issue lately and finding solutions for that, because that's one of the things that they want to have transportation for the students to attend our West-MEC programs. So those 2 points. And then also want to just compliment, I saw the impact report that came out, and I see a lot of work goes into it, and I was very impressed, especially by, well, a lot of things. The student stories, the awards, the administrators, instructors have gotten, and also how it's pretty clever how we embedded videos and something that looks almost static, looks like a PDF file, but has videos embedded in there and hyperlinks. So that was really cool to see. And then some of the touching stories, like this lady, I think Miss Trevino, forgetting her first name, but just talking about the struggles she had to contend with, being hard of hearing, having some deafness, and then overcoming that challenge, and then finding West-MEC, not getting initially into the program that she wanted to get into, but eventually she got into the nursing program. And now she's gotten a full ride scholarship to attend ASU. So it's just a very impactful report. I loved it. So thanks for putting that together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramirez. Mr. Michelino?
No, he does no good, nothing.
Okay, and
Just a couple. I also did that Orange experience, which is always great fun. In fact, I was sitting at the table and one of the ladies was most interested in project search. I said, "Oh, that's ironic." So we shared some stuff on that. And then I went to a field trip last week, I think, with Charlie Ellis. Yeah, and out of 56th Street, the National Guard. Right, so they had all of the vendors there. It was really good for the kids. Yeah, it was great. And then I was also at that West-MEC dinner.
Mhm.
It was good, but next year, another year.
Well, thank you. And I just have 3 items I'd like to just dovetail on Mr. Ramirez and the impact report. And I will just sum it up by saying very impressive. That's item 1. Item 2, interestingly, I spoke with a constituent, former constituent. Her and her family are now actually in Legislative District 29, but for many years, I served her family as a West-MEC board member, and she was so delighted her son is in coding and was so delighted to receive a postcard from the instructor and thought that was so impressive. And the description was simply very on point. West-MEC is, and so that family is forever a fan. So that's good, and those kinds of things are very helpful. Final item is more of an invitation. I will send a slide to Ms. Brown. Next Thursday night is my annual astronomy night at Grand Canyon University. Everyone is welcome. I'm anticipating probably upwards of 300 people, but there'll be many telescopes, technology. I've gotten government relations to spring for some refreshments. There'll be engineering students there, business students there, people from engineering. And of course, I can't resist but to invite quite a few legislators. So we'll see who shows up, but it is next Thursday night at GCU Central Campus. And I will get that out to board members for their pleasure if they can attend. So thank you. Thank you, board member. Yes, sir.
One more small detail actually I've overlooked, and I wanted to mention. One thing I noticed in one of the captions here, and I don't know if I missed it when we talked about the Cognia Award last meeting, is I noticed here the caption, Cognia recognized West-MEC as one of the top 5% of schools. But and for our guests that are here today, not in the top 5% statewide or nationally, but internationally. I was like, wow, that's very impressive. Congratulations to the administrators, teachers, and also our students. I wish I would have seen that, or that would have been in larger font, boldface. That's very impressive. So congratulations again to the school.
Thank you for pointing that out. So, okay, very good. So our next item on the agenda is call to the public. We have one individual to speak, but before that, I'm going to have co-pilot acting as vice chair tonight, Ms. Wiley, read the statement that we need to read before public comment, and then I will call that speaker up.
This is the time for the public to comment on matters that may be of interest to the board. Members of the board may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01H, action as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and discussion at a later date. In order to facilitate accomplishing the business of the district in a timely manner, a time limit of 3 minutes will be imposed for each individual or group addressing the board. When you approach the podium, please state your name for the record.
Thank you, Ms. Wiley. And can you hold that up? I'd like to call to the podium Ms. Mariela. Thank you. And I think Ms. Mariela, we met in the hall. We had a slight collision. I hope you're okay. Very good. Please proceed.
Good evening, Chairman Dr. Pinarelli, Governing Board, and Dr. Sperling. My name is Mariela Amasqua, and I'm an employee here at West-MEC. West-MEC is a place of opportunity for youth to make a difference in their daily lives. Behind the scenes, we have incredibly talented individuals that are the driving force to make this vision happen. We'll list tonight, but in the near future, you will have an impactful opportunity to discuss and vote on the second education incentive West-MEC currently offers. I have been at West-MEC for 4 years, so this is not currently pertinent, but it is one of the reasons I'm still here. This leave time benefits that have been very generous and give employees the opportunity for a healthy work-life balance. I currently have 2 sick parents, one with cancer and one with kidney failure. So this opportunity allows me to take time to care for them, and once in a while take a day for myself. With amendments to the leave and holidays, I along with others may not have the same level of flexibility. I look forward to continuing to grow in the organization and have an opportunity to see West-MEC flourish. Many of my coworkers that have dedicated the past 10+ years of their lives to this organization would all their efforts go to waste with a different decision made. My ask is that you think of the impact this will have for all of our employees and the organization as a whole. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you consider my memo when discussing and potentially making a decision when you guys have this discussion in the next meeting. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Very well stated. So moving on, information and discussion section is recognition and celebrations. Dr. Spurgeon.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Bingrelli. So I'm gonna start off by reading a statement. So it says Veterans Day provides the opportunity to reflect, recognize, and appreciate those individuals who have sacrificed for our country. The following employees and governing board member have faithfully given of their time to serve our country, and we thank them for their service. So I'd like to read off some names if it's our applause at the very end. If you're here in the audience, please stand and be recognized. From the Air Force, staff members Robert Chambers, Troy Gabaldon, Matt Heath, Gary Hizicki, Jay McDowell, Kimberly Porter, Bob Spoon, Matt Still, and James Urban. From the Army, Kim Canada, Michael Hawkins, Jada Milam, and Dr. Aaron Parsons. From the Marines, staff member Lorenzo Coffey and Richard Jones. From the Navy, Paul Getz, Timothy Johnson, Ricky Timmons, and Bruce Wilson. From the National Guard, Patrick Clausen and Charlie Ellis. And last but not least, our governing board member, Mr. Robert Garcia. So if you could join me in giving them a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Really appreciate it. Second, Ms. Lizeth Fils-Aimé, Director of Adult Education, has been selected as an Association for Career and Technical Education, ACTE, Next Level Post-Secondary Fellow for the 2024 cohort. So congratulations, Lizeth, for your selection as the 2024 cohort member. Yes, you too.
She is with COE this evening at Northwest Campus hosting an accreditation team. So when next time you see her, she'll be telling you that we are accredited at the Northwest Campus because of her leadership.
And then lastly, number 3, the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting has been awarded to the district by the Government Finance Office Association, or GFOA, for its comprehensive annual financial report ending June 30th, 2022. An award of financial reporting achievement, AFRA, was also awarded to Christina Pena, Accounts Payable and Grant Specialist, for her work in submitting the application. The Certificate of Achievement is the highest form of recognition in the governmental accounting and financial reporting, and his attainment represents a significant accomplishment by the government and its management. So I want to say congratulations to the business department and all those involved, and especially Christina for all of her work. So congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that wonderful set of recognitions. Next on the agenda is Eleven Unified School District, and I would like to welcome them to the podium, and please state your name and for the board, and welcome.
Thank you. My name is Elizabeth Newton. I teach culinary arts at the Hillbend School District. It is my 7th year with the school. And just to tell you a little bit about what we do. So some highlights and some things that we have done in the program. Our high school is sitting at about 180 students enrollment. And out of those 180 students, I have around 130 of them. So our enrollment is up slightly from previous years. Actually, our high school in general and elementary school are up. We've normally hovered around 500 students. We're now at about 550. So we've had a 10% increase in the last year or so. We don't know where the kids come from, but we're happy they're there. So all of the students that are enrolled in my program, one of the things that is mandatory that I require of them, and the program does pay for it using Perkins grant money, is the students get a food handler's card from Maricopa County. It's good for 3 years, so it's almost the entire duration if they choose to continue in the program until their senior year. So if they would like to go out and work in the community, a vast majority of the places that they can work in Gila is fast food. So that gives them a stepping stone to start working if they would like, once they reach the age, of course. And so there's approximately 147 students that I tested this year. I have a few that came from outside other programs that wanted to test in, which I don't mind at all. So it's about 80% of our high school that has food handlers cards. And we utilize them in several different places. Some of them volunteer in the cafeteria, some of them volunteer on the community. We are adjacent to Hoda Odom reservation, and they have programs out there that serve food, so they've worked with that. And so they're kind of here, there, and everywhere. They do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. For the third year, we are actually helping the cafeteria at the district serve our Thanksgiving luncheon. So our cafeteria serves our student body, and then out of my classroom, we will serve all of the adult and to-go meals. And that's actually housed in my classroom, which my classroom is adjacent, like we share a door into my room. So they're right next to each other. So the parents will come to my classroom, get their food. I have about 20 to 25 students that do that, and we serve 800 to 1,000 meals, I think, you know, for a small town. Like everybody comes, like the parents come, they check their kids out. So they eat with kindergartners, and you have fifth graders with sixth graders. They're just everywhere. So it is like the biggest event of the year for us, cafeteria wise and kind of culinary arts wise. So that's something new that we've done the last couple of years. And it's level 2, 3, and 4. And actually some of my level 1s are going to help this year, just because a lot of kids leave half day, because my level 4 kids are seniors and they work, so they aren't able to stay. And then for the 7th year, we will make cookies for the winter program. And that's about 1,500 cookies. So we make those, we bag them, we hand them out as well with hot cocoa and stuff at the winter program that night. And I have anywhere from 10 to 12 kids, depending on how many stations we set up, and they will pass out cookies and cocoa, and away they go. So that's some of the things that we do to help out the school.
Sounds like a Hallmark movie.
Oh, no, I know, I wish. It's more like a bad YouTube reality series some days. It is interesting. Do you guys have any questions about some of the stuff that we do there? Before I move on to the next one? Okay. So some future goals that I have is I would definitely like to grow the number of concentrators within our program. Over the last few years, we have not had like a steady counselor for the students. So we have 2 individuals that go through and help make the master schedule and will assign kids and enroll kids in classes, but they aren't a counselor. So what ends up happening is I kind of just have kids who are dropped in there. Oh, Andy, you don't have anywhere to go. We're just gonna put you in culinary arts. I've never had culinary arts. You're putting me in culinary arts week. Well, there's nowhere else for you to go. So that's where you're gonna go. So I want to work with our administration to create a sequence and prerequisites that are locked. So kids cannot be automatically enrolled, and it can't be overrided. It's something I've actually struggled with for the entirety that I've been there. I call it a dumping ground. They don't know what to do with these kids, so we're just gonna send them over here. So that is something that I am working very hard to fix. So that makes it really hard to get concentrators, because you've had them 1 year and then they're gone the next, and then they return for the next year, or you have them freshman year and they return the senior year because they're down a credit for an elective. So there isn't a lot of consistency with the kids to follow through. So it is hard to do some of those things. And once I can kind of get that going, I would like to do serve safe with the kids and some other industry certificates that I could find for them to do. But it makes it really hard when I just have kids that are dropped here, there, and everywhere. Any questions on that one? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
Is there like a business component or a business development, business planning component to that program?
No, I don't have anything right now.
Nowadays, you see so many people doing the food truck thing and mobile vending and all that online.
We don't really have the money in our school to have something that we could have. Like, the kids would love to have a food truck, but unfortunately we can't do that. But I do have, it's a drive-through window in my classroom, so the kids can walk up if we choose to have a cell. And we're actually, we had a shake and ice cream machine donated a couple years ago. They're Taylor machines and that are gonna be installed in the classroom this year. So we are going to run like an ice cream shop out of our classroom when we get that set up. We're just trying to figure out some powers and who's gonna come service them and stuff. So that is something that is going to be almost like a business that we run, you know, we'll do ice cream nights, 1 to 2 nights a month, depending on how the public and the community respond to it.
Awesome.
Is this the only class that you guys have out there?
Yes, I'm the only CTE program at my school.
Get some more CTE out there.
Yes, and
I
in my opinion, I would love if we could have an ag program out there because we are surrounded by farms and dairies. And a large majority of our children's parents and guardians do work at those places. So I think that would be something that would be very beneficial to them because a lot of them do end up working in those places.
Well, maybe we can do some effort and help you get that out there.
That would be amazing. We would love that.
Great,
The kids would be very excited.
very important. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
And that's all I have for you guys. If you have, yes.
So with the markets in Gila Bend, have you looked at what businesses are the major industries in your area? Because there you got a huge solar plant far from you.
Mhm,
You
we
got
have
a
solar on that.
fossil plant, you got a lot of ag. You got the trains that go by there.
Mhm.
And then you have all that commute tourism that comes all the way down, going to California.
Yes.
Who's the big employer then?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
School district.
The school district's the biggest
Um,
employer.
So one of the big employers is the airbase that's right outside town. It's not an active airbase. It's more like a gunnery range. They test bombs and things
Right,
out there.
White Sands, the Air Force, been able.
We're barium Goldwater up there.
Yeah,
That's
very
right. So we have that. A lot of people are employed out there, but a lot of people also do travel in. There is a food mart that has a tire shop, a towing service, and then a gas station that's all attached. They employ quite a few people. And then that's kind of like fast food places. If people work, they kind of go outside the community a little bit because there's only so many spots available at some of our power plants because they're so automated. So they don't have, you know, huge crews. They have little crews that are very specialized. But we actually work with, the school works with SRP, and we do have students every year for the last couple of years that will intern out there. But that's kind of its own program that was brought to us. I don't really have anything to do with that. The other industry is automotive and servicing and towing and recovery, things like that are big because we have so many semis go through. They need tire changes, they need minor repairs on the side of the road, they need anything like that. And a lot of times, if any of the local companies can't handle that, we have to call for outside services. So somebody will have to travel from a metro area out to a rural area. And I actually know that system very well because that's what I grew up in. My parents do that. So I know a lot about how that works. So that is something that we have a lot of, like you said, agriculture, the dairy.
You got counties out there, like doing that big road project, that state.
Yeah, it's the, and then we have,
Or the DPS depot.
yeah, we have a compound, there, and that houses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think 6 troopers at the moment. And we also, the same troop, they have offices or homes in, Ajo as well. So we have a few guys down there. They work in both places.
Interesting. I was curious, maybe something we could look into.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a little mishmash of everything. We have a little of this, we have a little of that. We are, at one point I was going to be a manager for the McDonald's in town, and I can tell you that is one of the top 5 McDonald's in the state. When it comes to the weekend, when it comes to sales, like especially holidays. Oh, yeah, it would be nothing to clear like $15,000 in a day. Or to, you know, so, or more. You know, I think the highest day I had was 19,000 when we worked there, and that is just one McDonald's, a single drive-through. It wasn't even double drive-through at the time. And that was about 10 years ago. So that stays busy consistently. So I can always send kids there to work, like they will always get hired there. Then we do have a couple truck stops. None of them have like automotive built in with them, so they don't have like trucks that they can dispatch to go work. Again, it all has to come out of Phoenix, Casa Grande, even some from Yuma, depending on which company it is.
And just to add to Beth, SRP is just bought rights to the gas plants down there, and so they are the largest, as reported by SRP, the largest employer of Gila Bend right now.
Okay.
They were instrumental in West-MEC and Gila Bend coming together. They were the ones that really fostered that relationship. They really sponsored a lot of the campaign for Gila Bend to join West-MEC. So
As the board knows, this is the very first year of membership for Gila Bend, so we're just looking at the baseline right now of how Gila Bend comes in. I think it'll be very interesting for the board to see in a couple years, where does their membership in West-MEC take Gila Bend? What kind of supports can we do? So we'll be doing a lot with Gila Bend this year, and we'll be growing programs over the next couple years with Gila Bend, so.
It's gonna be exciting.
It will be exciting.
Very excited. You guys are welcome to come out and visit us anytime you would like. Yes, sir.
Jim.
Oh, Mr. Marino, yes, please.
Thank you for what you're doing. Probably most of us haven't been to Gila Bend, or spent much time other than McDonald's drive-thru. Is the space age still there?
This
Oh, yeah.
museum is still there. The owners changed it over a couple years ago. So I mean, but it still have the same food and everything, just a little bit different owners. And we still have Little Italy, there's
Oh,
Sophia's.
that's the Italian restaurant.
Yes.
Well, you don't know it, but I've spent quite a bit of time down there. I helped train a couple of your business managers years ago. And it's a wonderful community, a wonderful town. And when I heard the story about ag and dairy farms, my gosh, I wonder if Jim, or some of our other ag teachers could recommend somebody to go down there because they need that program. I know that for certain. And we wondered if we could use our talents.
It's on our agenda. We're gonna be doing this.
Wonderful. Thank you.
We're gonna be
Thank
doing
you
it.
for what you're doing for the student service.
Said you guys are welcome to come out and visit anytime. The kids always love having visitors and they'll make you guys cookies, they'll make you food. They'll be so excited. They love when people come to visit. They're all about, what are we gonna make them? And I'm like, well, what do you guys wanna make? So you never know what they're gonna come up with, but they'll always have something for you guys.
Can I just tell one of my favorite Gila Bend stories? I was helping this young man become a business manager and he called, and he said, I had a meeting for the community. Nobody came. I said, what'd you serve? Serve anything? I said, you need to go down to cafeteria manager, have her make you some cookies and have coffee and tea and see if that changes. Boom, it did. Next time they call me, they packed the room, emptied the cookies. And again, it's a wonderful growing area. And I'm grateful to have somebody with your enthusiasm down there helping the kids because they can get jobs in culinary arts. They can get jobs in agriculture and they can get jobs on dairy farms.
Yes, in addition.
Thanks
to
for
the-
what you're doing.
Absolutely. I really enjoy it. I have a lot of fun with the kids. In addition to the agriculture, they do need people to work on their equipment. So heavy equipment, mechanics would be in high demand out there, They have John Deere's that they work on, Case, all of those. So they always have something that needs to be worked on and fixed. And again, they normally have to call somebody out, to come fix that if they don't have somebody on site or on hand in-house that can fix it.
Yes, thank
So we had one student that drove up from Gila Bend to the Northeast campus every single day for the medium diesel program.
Wow.
And then I think there might be 4
Yes.
that drive up.
Yes.
But remember, we're moving the
Great
diesel,
story.
but we're gonna move the diesel program over behind Ogden Free High School, which will be half the distance from where it is now.
I just love hearing things like.
How many miles is it between here?
I think the kids say, yeah, they drive like an hour and 10 minutes depending on traffic. And it depends on depending on like traffic from the stadium and whatnot and what's going on. Some of them will have to take the 303 and go around and get off a little bit further and backtrack a little bit. They'll take the 101 around. They said about an hour and 10 minutes depending on traffic. And yeah, we do have 4 going. I actually have all 4. They've taken culinary arts with me. I know them very well. And if you've met Jesus Rubalcaba, who does a lot of our West-MEC applications, everything, and he's been around. 2 of his sons are actually enrolled in the program. The one last year is his oldest, which is a senior and will graduate this year. And his middle son, Angel, is a junior. This is his first year in the program. And next year he will graduate and continue on. And then I have a couple of the other ones, Lee McMahon and Tristan Folks. I have those 2 as well. And I've known them their entire high school career. And so they're very excited. They talk about it a lot.
you very much, very enthusiastic, thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you.
and drive safely,
We are going to head out now. We got
yes.
45 minutes to an hour to drive, and then we gotta get up and work in the morning. So thank you so much for having us. I appreciate coming out.
Thank you.
And like I said, come visit anytime. You're more than welcome.
Give you a call.
Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is Mr. Williams, legislative and business partnership update. Thank you, sir.
Chairman Dr. Pingarelli, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Spurgeon, as always, thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on items pertaining to government affairs and business development efforts. I commend Beth and Gila Band, your students. I volunteered to host our family Thanksgiving like 6 years ago. It was 20 of us, and I said never again. It was too overwhelming. So 800 is beyond my comprehension. I appreciate also the governing board member updates, because you're starting to chip away at my list of updates. So this is good. And Mr. Ramirez, board member Ramirez, I think I saw Mr. Cook shed a tear back there when you were talking about the impact report and the embedded videos. He's very proud of that work, as he should be. Want to talk about, if you blinked, you may have missed it, but yesterday it was an election here across Maricopa County and the state. The unofficial results were posted last night at around 8 o'clock and have not been updated since. I just checked before I stood up here. And in talking with Maricopa County Elections, that what's posted captures all, this was an all mail-in ballot. So it captures all ballots mailed in, early ballots, and it does not capture day of drop off or day of replacement ballots. So people that came and voted in person. So those numbers in some of those closer races could certainly flip how those things look. We had a number of municipalities and school districts across the valley go out for bonds and or overrides. Some of the current results, again, unofficial, show some of our member districts like Deer Valley doesn't appear to have been successful in their bond or override effort. Again, not official. Our Agua Fria Union High School District appears to have a slight lead on their bond question to their community. Tolleson Union again has appeared to have a yes from their community on a bond there. Other ones, municipal, El Mirage, Surprise, Glendale, looks like Phoenix seem to have all been successful in their municipal bond questions. So we'll continue to monitor that, and I'll include that in forthcoming board reports to keep you in the loop on the outcome of those elections. The official canvass has to be done within 30 days. Shouldn't take that long. I imagine by Monday, Tuesday next week, we'll have a pretty good idea of what that looks like. Last week, I had the opportunity to attend the fall ACOPA conference up in Prescott. This is really one of my favorite convenings of CTE leaders and practitioners across the state. And West-MEC certainly plays a leadership role. A couple highlights from that. One, I had the privilege of presenting a legislative update to all the attendees at the convening. But we were also joined, the CTED soups were joined by Senator Bennett, who provided just his, I don't know if anybody's seen his state budget presentation and the boxes, and yes, so he did that again. And it's always good to see where those state appropriated funds are, and then the additional 50 billion that comes from federal dollars and how those are allocated. And so that was a very informative experience. He also talked about some of his priorities for the upcoming legislative session, really focusing on Title 15. And I know that a few of our legislators are really starting to bring together some stakeholder groups to look through Title 15 and really reducing some of the rules and regulations that may be outdated or maybe even conflicting in some instances. So we'll see again how that plays out over the next session. I had the opportunity this week to meet with Representative Steve Montenegro down at the Capitol. Always appreciate talking with him. He's very passionate. He's very much a West Valley kid, born in El Salvador, but raised in the West Valley, graduated from Dysart High School, went to ASU West. So strong supporter of CTE and what we're doing at West-MEC. Also had the chance to tour Representative Judy Schwiebert out at our Northeast campus, which sits within her district, LD2. And she was, and I appreciate Mr. Swarnick and the Northeast campus staff for helping to facilitate that tour. I sprung that on them last minute, so I appreciate that. But she was very much impressed with what's happening there, and that was her first visit to the Northeast campus. I want to talk a little more broadly about Arizona's education and workforce ecosystem. So you're going to hear updates. Dr. Spurgeon shared an update on Arizona Education and Economic Commission and the initiative out of Arizona Department of Education, really leading the way of those public-private partnerships and the apprenticeship conversation. You heard Board Member Garcia speak to Build It AZ and the initiative that was submitted to the governor should be made public here in the next week or so. Also really focused on apprenticeships. I had the opportunity last week to meet with Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego's office and the White House National Economic Council, and their work focused on Phoenix is one of 5 workforce hubs across the country. And they're really looking to highlight some best practices and some partnerships between education, economic development, workforce development to really meet the industry demand and the workforce need that we see here in Arizona. So we've got engagement, we're good. What we don't have is system coordination. So that's really kind of this next phase, I would say, to strengthen Arizona's education and workforce ecosystem. We've kind of identified the challenge, and we've got a lot of great elements and partners in the ecosystem. They're engaged. Now it's about system coordination, and the great news for West-MEC and CTE as a whole is we get to leverage all of this in support of what we're doing. And apprenticeships, conveniently next week is National Apprenticeship Week, so it's a timely conversation. But not everybody shares the same working definition of what an apprenticeship is. And there are youth apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeships, registered apprenticeship programs. There's employers that have their own program. There's sponsors that serve as a convener of apprenticeships. So there's a lot of ways to get to effective apprenticeships for our youth and adults. But again, that system coordination will be important moving forward. And I think West-MEC is well positioned to be a leader in that conversation. On the business development front, I would just echo the words that Board Member Bosom shared around the community engagement event. Really appreciative of her vision for that and her leadership in that space. Want to thank Mr. Welch for providing a great overview of West-MEC at that event, and Mr. Cook for really putting the word out there and helping coordinate that event, and April Tyrell for really speaking specific to programs and our recruiters. One of our industry partners, Adelante Health, was there as well. So really a nice engagement, and Worship and Word Church, which was the host venue. Great community engagement event. We also, as mentioned, had the NASCAR, the Phoenix Raceway partnership reveal at the Northwest campus on October 25th. It was really cool to see the car out there and the trailer out there and kick things off. And then this last weekend, we had the fall championship weekend where students were out there. We had about 150 students engaged in different work-based learning experiences out at the track Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Some of us got to go out there on Sunday and really see it all in action. It was pretty impressive. I mean, that turns into its own city out there with hundreds of thousands of people. So really well done. I specifically want to thank Susan Leone, who's our work-based learning coordinator. She just did a fantastic job coordinating between West-MEC and Phoenix Raceway. Our instructors, our students, just first in class, really represented West-MEC well. Lastly, Dr. Spurgeon talked about these strategy meetings that we're having with TSMC, and that really then is the next phase of implementing that workforce strategy. We're thankful to Scott Holman and TSMC for really following through on their end. As Dr. Spurgeon mentioned, oftentimes big companies will say, they'll promise you the world, we'll do this, that, and the other for you. And then when it comes time to show up, they might not. So they have, and we're very much engaged in that process, and we're going to replicate that workforce strategy and the implementation of that strategy with other partners as we begin and continue our work with with Nestle, with Core Power, as we work with City of Phoenix in the Innovation 27 project and the AMS group. And most recently, we were contacted by the City of El Mirage and Surprise, who each have large automotive employers coming into their region. El Mirage has CarMax, a large processing center. I'm told this is public information, Mr. Garcia. I saw you kind of look at me. I'm hoping I'm not unveiling anything, but and then the City of Surprise is bringing in Tricolor, which is a business-to-business car processing facility. But collectively, we're looking at about 600 to 700 technicians that these companies will be looking for over the next couple of years. So we're connecting our automotive programs, our collision program, our medium heavy diesel program, our power sports program with both of those employers by way of El Mirage and City of Surprise. With that, I will stand for questions.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Should we keep covering it all? Thank you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Getting better at it.
So moving on, we have information on the West-MEC hiring process. Ms. Mays, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Chairman Pingarelli, members of the governing board, Dr. Spurgeon. Thank you for allowing me to come before you this evening to discuss the hiring process in the Human Resources Office. So, let's go. The hiring process starts with position control. And if you're familiar with that particular terminology, what that is the district's ability to make sure that as employees are being hired into positions and as employees leave positions, we're tracking all that just to make sure that nobody is trying to put, a person into a position that hasn't been budgeted appropriately, that the calendars haven't been set, et cetera, et cetera. 80 to 90% of the district's budget is actually, of the M&O budget, is actually tied up in salaries and benefits. So it's critical that we have tight control over that process before we even think about adding positions or deleting positions, because we want to do what's best for our students and make sure that they have everything that they need, but we also have to make sure that we're fiscally responsible. So that's why it starts with position control. So at the start of each school year, we take a look at all of the positions that we had the previous year. And then we go out to our administrators and say, how did that go for you? Are there positions that need to be added? Are there some programs that, may not be as successful as others? And maybe we need to think about, are we going to bring that position back next year? What additional help do you need to make your operation run more smoothly? So we have those conversations in January. We put that data all together, and that information is reviewed by cabinet. So once we have an idea of what positions we are going to have for the upcoming year, then we'll go ahead and issue contracts with the governing board's approval. From there, if there are any positions that were not approved or that have to be collapsed, then that goes through the governing board, and it also goes through my office. And if there are any new positions, obviously we'll advertise those or create any new job descriptions if we need to. So if there is a position that is open and that needs to be filled, this is the process right here. I won't go through every single bullet, but basically there's two ways that we start the application review. Our current application system works this way. Applicants apply, it comes into a system, and we actually copy the application and send it out to the administrator for review. So the administrator or the supervisor will review the applications, they do the paper screenings, and they decide who they would like to come in for interview. We do have banks of questions in the Human Resources Office, so that if they don't have formulated questions that they have come up with, we have questions that they can use. Then our office, if we're involved with that part of the process, because occasionally, like for example, the CFO position, it was actually the Human Resources Office that took the lead on making sure that we had the right questions, we gathered all the data, we contacted the candidates. So depending on the position, it's either the site, the department, or Human Resources that will prepare all the documentation for that particular search. So after the applicants have been selected to come in to interview, then the interview team goes into action and they contact the candidate. After they've reviewed the application, they've come up with the questions, and they have a process. So they'll decide amongst the committee, how are they gonna ask the questions? Are there any follow-up questions? Is there some additional information that the candidates didn't provide? Then the interview team will let them know at that point. And then after that, then they'll close the interview and thank the candidate for coming in. Okay, so once the candidate is selected, they will notify Human Resources, and then we or the administrator will let the other candidates know that weren't selected, so that they can move on. We do require 2 reference checks on the finalists that they select for interviews. And at that point, it would come to me and I start reviewing the application itself. So before I'll make an offer to a candidate, if I see red flags like they're employed from 2017 to present, for example, that lets me know, well, is this candidate under contract? I might have to do a little bit more research before we can make an actual offer. So it'll come to me for review. I look at their time and tenure, I look at their job skills, I look at their, at their current compensation. And so I come up, or I structure the offer and the benefits that will be presented to the candidate. If the candidate meets those requirements, then we make an offer and we have them come in to do their paperwork. Under the last bullet where I put verify if the candidate is not on contract, I know that was an issue for one of the governing board members. And I just wanted to make sure that the governing board was aware that we will not offer an employment contract to any candidate that is currently under contract. We do require that they have an official release in writing before we actually present them with a contract from West-MEC. After that, the hiring process is mostly just paperwork. We have them bring in any supporting documentations. We review the reference check for any red flags. We set them up for orientation, go through the handbook with them. And then the department usually takes over to help them get acclimated in their new position. If there's any additional work items that they need, such as a computer, ID badge that lets them in certain doors or whatever, then the HR office has different ways that we make sure that they get connected. And then finally, some of the things that are on the horizon, under application processing, what I'm hoping to do is bring in a more automated process where the applicant will apply for a position, but then all of the administrators would be able to see it as opposed to waiting for Human Resources to copy and send them a paper document. I think that'll speed things up, and it'll allow us to capture a lot of that information electronically as opposed to waiting for the candidate to come in and bring documents and so forth. In addition to that, one thing that I'm very, very excited about, working with Bill Wakefield's office in professional development, they are working through the Aurora program to come up with strategies for what do employees need to know in 30 days? What do they need to know in 60 days? What do they need to know in 90 days? So then that way, when an employee starts work here at West-MEC, it's not just, here's your keys, here's your badge, good luck. We'll see you later. It's very strategic in terms of the information that they get, making sure they understand the history of West-MEC, and making sure they have a really strong start with us when they come to work. The last thing that we're working on right now is a new hire placement schedule. Right now, we do have a placement process. I'd like to see it a little bit more well-defined in terms of the salaries that we offer our new candidates coming in. And so at some point in the near future, probably the January or the February meeting, we'll probably be presenting to you a placement schedule so that the governing board can review and approve. Okay. And with that, does anyone have any questions?
Members, Mr. Miglerino.
How many board members requested that you check to see if they're already under contract?
One.
So Ms. May, so I do want to go to the question with regard to this. So I know you have not been here for very long, but are you aware of anyone that has been hired by West-MEC that broke their contract, were assessed liquidated damages, but we still hired them?
I am aware of a teacher that was under contract when we made the offer. However, we did not actually present them with an actual contract. We did have the dialogue with them that we couldn't go any further until we knew that they were officially released and we had it in writing.
Okay, I'm just sitting on the board for, I think, almost now 7 years, but also attending many of the local district boards that do have liquidated damages. I was aware of a number of employees that were offered contracts by West-MEC, and then they asked the board that they were a part of, the board of the district that were a part of, to relieve them of liquidated damages. So I just want to put that in the record, and that is a concern, I think, in my view. Just for clarification, do we have any sort of liquidated damages or assessments for breach of contract by our employees?
Yes, we do. That was added to the contracts, I do believe, this year.
Okay.
It's $2,500.
Right, and that was something that I know that I requested because I think it's protective of the district as well as the staff and the students. So I think that, so thank you very much. You answered my question. Members, any other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and that leads us to talk about West-MEC Central program admission rubric. And I love rubrics. Ms. Bebiar, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pingarelli, members of the board, Superintendent Spurgeon. I'm happy to be with you today. In your board book, there were 2 rubrics that were sent to you and that I hope you had time to look at. I'm going to start with the homeschool and online rubric because I think it's maybe newer to you than others. So we have 2 rubrics for the very reason that when a student is from a homeschool program or an online program, they don't necessarily have a lot of discipline and attendance that can be, I guess a mom could say, yeah, they got up on time this morning, but so we really worked hard at trying to create a fair rubric. So when families were doing that it would equal what 98% of our other counselors are doing with students. So at the very bottom, we really took the qualifications of our professional skills rubric and put it into play. And so we ask someone from outside of their family to complete this. So whether it's a pastor or if they work at, you know, Chick-fil-A or wherever they're working, that someone else would do this rubric. And then they have a part in there that they fill out anyway. So we found that prior to this newer rubric, some of our scores seem to be a little more inflated here, that there were higher rubric scores happening here. And we just wanted to see what we could do to kind of have somebody from outside of a family or teaching them take a look at their rubrics. So we're gonna be able to track this going forward and see what happens with those rubrics. Because you know that students get placed based on rubric scores, and we wanna make sure that they're equal, but homeschool and online can't do the same as the rubric that we use for all other students. So I'm here today to answer any questions about our rubric, a little history about our rubric. So we have been using this rubric or a portion of it for about 11 years. And it's always had 70 points as its total so that we can follow our data to make sure that we know that students, our retention, of course, which is so good at West-MEC, we know that has a correlation to who gets in the program and the scores that they receive on their rubric. So we're real proud of that. The other piece we're very proud of is that this rubric was created by the counselor advisory. So just like Dr. Spurgeon has a commission and all of the programs that Mrs. Bustam's going to, IT security, medical assisting, and they have an advisory that guides that program. We do the same with our student services department and a counselor advisory. So we have counselors from all of our charter private homeschool, our CHOP as we call them, as well as our member districts that come twice a year, and they help us make decisions on many things, but one of them being this rubric. Because you can imagine that if there is a counselor from Dysart High School, and there's a counselor from Deer Valley, and there's a counselor from Borgade Catholic High School, they know their students, but they're filling this rubric out using the same pieces of information, and they hold each other accountable to that because they don't want someone from one place to be able to do attendance and discipline different than how they do it somewhere else. So we are really proud of the fact that this rubric has really stood the test of time. Some years ago, even through an OCR that someone else was having, they used our rubric as an example of what a rubric could be to be fair and equitable. I will also tell you that all of these visits that Dr. Spurgeon and we've had through the years when people come to visit West-MEC, I'm usually brought in for our side of the house of what we're doing with enrollment and application. And the rubric is usually one of the highlights of what people are looking for. So our students really do reflect who gets in our program. So from our communities, Mr. Welsh and I did a presentation in September talking about the difference between male and female, that there's 55% female, 45% males, 48% Hispanic, 38% white, 15% ELL, 504, and IEP. And that 82% of the students that get in are from our member districts and 17 from charter. So we've talked to you about that, which is why we believe that this rubric is working so well because of our data that we've received from there. We can go into A's and B's and C's, we can go into a lot more data, but I will tell you that I stand here with a lot of people behind me saying the same thing, that the rubric has gone through iterations, not huge ones, but enough just to tweak it to make it more fair and equitable across the board. So I stand for questions about the rubric.
Yes.
So one of the things that Maryland, that we're gonna be doing this year, which is brand new, oftentimes we have several students that will submit their application, and for one reason or another, they just don't qualify. So what we're gonna be doing this year is asking counselors to hold some of those applications and give those students an opportunity to have a plan that semester, and then they have an opportunity with a couple areas that they can work on for the second semester, and then resubmit the application and potentially be eligible for those programs that will be left for the students. That'll be something brand new for us, but at least it gives them that second opportunity, whereas the first time we get it in, they don't qualify, it just automatically disqualifies them. They don't get a chance to be a part of the program. So this is gonna be our first attempt to see how that goes. So I think it was an outstanding idea to be able to give students more of an opportunity to be qualified as.
It's called our Student Success Action Plan, and we've been working with it and tweaking it for some years, and this is the time. And again, we met with our counselor advisory just about a week and a half ago, and the counselors really like that idea because now they get to sit with those students that have a lower rubric of 41 or below, or maybe have some Ds in English or math, but they're still in another class so that they can then up those grades, get their attendance up, get their discipline up. And then if there is room in programs, which we know there are, kids get in, kids leave, you know, it kind of is a very fluid process, except for a couple of our programs like welding and esthetician. But so really in April or May or June, there are these opportunities for counselors to get back to us with those applications for students that wanted to get in the program. We never want to say no to a student like it'll never happen. We just want to give them those opportunities to meet the next requirement.
Thank you, members. Any questions?
I just have a comment.
Sure.
I would like to just go over that someday with you individually, because it's all Greek to me.
Oh, I would be happy.
What you're doing.
One of my favorite
love it.
conversations.
I mean, I love it. I know you do a good job. I just would like to understand it a little bit more.
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
Yes.
How many homeschoolers do we have?
I want to say if I'm like right off the top of my head, I think 40 or 50, Mr. Welsh. Yeah, I believe there's about 40 or 50 students. And I think it's next week, we're doing our first virtual homeschool family presentation. So we'll let you know how that goes, and then we'll probably turn it into something else. But our homeschool families, when one homeschool family finds out, they have their own little network, and more are finding out. So Carolyn Nicodemus, one of the recruiters, is doing just an outstanding job with our homeschool families.
So, you know, one of the things that we're working on specifically with homeschool parents, we're trying to get that group together. Because there's little factions of groups of homeschoolers, and we're trying to get them together. This is our first attempt to do that. For a couple of things. Number one, we want to increase their ability to apply for West-MEC and get in, but secondarily, charter schools and homeschool students have a greater flexibility in their schedules so that they may offer some opportunity to offer programs at different times of the day, which other K-12 districts may not be able to send their kids because they have to be back at their homeschool for 4 hours, or, you know, we don't serve lunch. So we're going to look at some flexibility options. And these are two groups that we're trying to get highly involved to see if we can make that happen.
So that could be the core that fills empty hours that we couldn't otherwise fill.
Yeah, K-12 just can't do it because students have to be back at their homeschool for 4 hours, plus they get lunch. And we don't serve lunch, so there's a lot of restrictions.
Great.
Thank you, members. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay, last item on discussion section of the agenda is Ms. Mays again on a policy JLIF. And I just want to remind members that for policies that come, the first read is always put on the agenda for review. So questions can be asked by members of Human Resources or any member that is presenting the policy. And then you have an entire month to review that, to ask questions of the cabinet, of the appropriate people. And then if there is nothing, then it just goes on consent in the following month. So I just wanted to clarify that because I've received a couple questions on that, and I wanted all members to be aware. Thank you. So please proceed.
Good evening again, Chairman Pingarelli, members of the governing board, and Dr. Spurgeon. The sex offender notification policy was not part of our last manual adoption. And we did some research. It hasn't been in our policies, I don't know, ever, or at least not for the last several years. And so after reviewing the policy or the language, we felt that for the safety of our students, it's not a bad idea to add this back to the policy. And basically what it does is, as we receive any information from any of our Department of Public Safety agencies about any sexual offenders that move into the boundaries of any of our schools, they will notify us and we will disperse that information to the various offices and departments. It's not meant to put mug shots in the front office, but it is just a way for us to be able to notify our front offices of that information. So if the governing board does approve this as a second read, we will adopt that into policy and we'll make sure that we have a procedure that allows our campuses to be informed.
Any questions?
I do have a question. On some of the, like letter A, the state statute, when you read the actual statute, it talks about giving law enforcement a specific time frame, and that's not included in here. Just by mentioning the state statute, is that adopted already in there?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's a reference.
Huh?
It's a reference to that.
Right.
Is this similar or the same as other schools have?
Yes, other districts, the last district that I worked for had this particular policy. And the photos that came in from the Departments of Public Safety, we actually posted them in various break rooms. But you can also put those pictures in a binder at the front office. So just in case any member of the public comes up and says, hey, are you all keeping track of any sex offenders in the area? We can say, yes, we are. Is there anyone that you're looking for? And we'll have that information handy. So yes, other districts do have this policy in place.
So if a board member wanted to keep up abreast of anybody that moved in the area, we would need to go.
And you can also do that personally as well, if you wanted to, just like near your home. That information is public information.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very, very useful. Okay, next is a motion to approve consent agenda items. Is there any item on the consent agenda that a member would like to pull? Okay. Hearing that there is none to pull, I need a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll motion to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Geis. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. I like that. You typically don't, I don't call on you first. I don't see you, so thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Mr. Garcia to approve the consent agenda and a second by Mr. Ramirez. Members, please cast your votes. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yay and 1 abstention. Motion carries. Thank you, members. Moving on to action discussion. We have tabled item 1. So we're moving to approval of strategic plan goals for 2023, 24. And let me welcome Mr. Wakefield to the podium. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Chairman Pingarelli, members of the board, Superintendent Spurgeon. I have a brief update on what you will see in your agenda as the strategic plan update, what we like to call Aurora. Where does the name come from, Aurora? When we planned this 3rd strategic plan for the district, they're about 5-year plans, we recognized that we wanted to create a plan that brought West-MEC to a place that no other school in the nation could, where people from around the globe come to visit. And that's essentially what an Aurora is, something that is magnificent, something that we travel far and wide to go and see. And I think that we've been able to accomplish many of those things. Some of the things that as we planned this strategic plan, we looked at what we had done traditionally And we felt like we wanted to make a collective effort of all employees, everybody that was a part of West-MEC, to coordinate their work and to collaborate across the organization, eliminating silos that had occurred as different groups worked on the strategic plan. We wanted it to be the work that we do every day in the organization that is the strategic plan, rather than today we're going to do the strategic plan or once a month, whatever that might be. So these are some of the goals that we set as we put the plan together. You will see 14 goals across Aurora. These are the goals that I presented to you a couple years ago, really focused on engagement. When we think about learning experiences, we've already talked about staff and student safety, work-based learning, all the things that we talk about every month and that we are committed to. The second set of goals you'll see is around this idea of partnerships, how we recruit students, how we keep students, how we build partnerships, and we've done a significant amount of work on all of those. Some of the major accomplishments so far, since we launched, we began at about 57% of our students earning an industry valued credential. We ended last year at 83. Now our goal is 88. So you can see in a short amount of time, we've made great strides. And again, across the organization, not just certain people within the organization. We've worked diligently with career action plans or career pathways for our students as they finish our programs. You'll see it's one of the goals that Dr. Spurgeon has put forward to you that you've already approved with our career literacy 2.0, some of these things. And we've built some timelines to help with how we recruit, how we retain. Think of the numbers that I showed you last year with summer camps, as we've done summer camps with focusing on junior high students. And then CJ Williams has done a tremendous amount of work with these partnerships with business and industry. So just some of the things that we've done, by all means, not all the things that we've done because of the coordinated work of the organization. What I want to show you now is how we're looking at the strategic plan. We've identified 14 goals that we have maintained through this strategic plan. But as we look at the major components that we feel will always be a part of West-MEC, and that's our students earning credentials, students having high achievement, and then helping students who come to us learn and know what they can become. And then when they're here, learn how they can become that. Those will always be our pillars of our goals. So what we've done is we've looked at the goal of high value credentials. We've embedded 88% of our students earning those. With student achievement, a current year goal, it's Dr. Spurgeon's goal, is that 90% of our students will work well or do well on the AD technical assessment. And then 90% of our students will have this purposeful career plan. And we've taken those 3 pillars and then we've realigned these 14 goals under those 3 pillars that will always be a part of what we do. And then we've identified these foundational goals, how we grow and care for our employees, how we build community partnerships, and ensuring that our students and our staff are safe. And these will always be the 3 that we continue to grow to build this environment that fosters kids' success. So I take a moment to share that with you as we've rethought some of these things.
Yes. So one of the goals of this was to make things very simplistic. So if you know me very long, you know that I like single pages and a couple pages, because what gets complicated doesn't get done. And so what you'll notice is these are my 3 goals. The entire organization is aligned from top to bottom and bottom to top. Everybody aligns to these 3 areas. These 14 areas for goals for us will never change. It's the work that we're always going to do. But the reason for dividing this up is it now gives each individual department the opportunity is how do I fit into the mix and what is it that I do that's going to make a difference? So this literally just lays out kind of some of the work orders for each of those departments, but how I can help achieve each one of those 3 goals. So instead of taking those 14 in 5 or 6 or 7 pages, it's down to 1. 3 goals, superintendent goals, top to bottom, bottom to top, and all 14 are aligned with each department knowing exactly what role they play and what part they play in achieving those goals. Very simply done.
Members, questions?
we go into a little bit more on the family engagement? I think there's so many ways that we can involve the family. In West-MEC, how are you incorporating? that?
Well, one of the things that we do, I know that some of the campuses have really worked to make an initiative in their tactical plans to invite families onto campuses through open houses and other of campus-wide events. I know the Central Campus just had an event where they're bringing people in, talking about the programs. So these are some of the tactical measures that can occur on campuses and at the district level that would support that goal.
Okay, and what age groups?
And what age groups? Well, when we have families come on, we have students from all ages. We have our strategic summer camps that where we focus, although many students try to come from different ages, our focus is junior high. So we know that they're going to hear more about the programs, and then in the next few years, they're going to be hopefully enrolling.
Did anyone on the board get a chance to see the social media posts for the truck or treat night at the Southwest campus?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dr. Parsons, about how many families do you think were there that night? It was just overwhelming.
We raised, well, we were collecting 1 can per family, and we raised 3,700 pounds of food.
Wow.
So, I don't want to account, but it was a lot.
It's Prudential night, it's career services, the nights that they have for open house, program conversations, and it's not just one person at family, it's all of them coming. And so that really makes a big difference. But we can always do better.
Yeah, we always can.
Yes.
More.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wakefield. Okay, members, this item is an action item, so I need a motion to approve the strategic plan goals for 23-24 as presented.
I motion to approve the strategic plan goals of 2023-2024 presented.
Thank you. And is there a second?
1 second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the strategic plan goals by Mr. Ramirez and a second by Ms. Bosom. Members, hearing no further discussion, please cast your votes. And motion carries unanimously. Thank you, members. Last item on the action agenda is approval of architectural contracts. We held a few last month. They needed some further review. That's been accomplished, and members, our attorney has given the green light, so please proceed, sir.
Chairman Pingarelli, members of the board, Superintendent Spurgeon. And again, just like last month, you all summed it up for me, but in a nutshell, we're looking for your recommendation to approve those architectural contracts for the Southwest, I apologize, the Southwest Campus, the Agua Fria Academies, and the Northeast Campus projects.
Members, any questions?
As Dr. Pingarelli.
Yes, sir.
And as Dr. Pingarelli said, it's been through legal. That's what the holdup was. They had to go through legal to make sure contracts were exactly where they needed to be. So that's all been approved, and
That's one of the questions I had is, okay.
yes, it's all been approved.
So, yes,
Can you repeat what these are for? What campuses?
We have a project at the Southwest Campus. We're going to be doing some remodeling, working on the IT security program and expansion of that, which will include a student-based enterprise. We're going to be partnering with Agua Fria Union High School District on their former transportation yard, remodeling buildings on that site, and we'll have an academy type program where students are basically walking across their sports fields right into a West-MEC program without leaving their home high school. And then we're also doing some expansion and improvements at Northeast Campus to include electric vehicle and
Then the build out of the TSMC.
TSMC, yes, thank you.
The 2-story airplane hangar that's empty. Sorry, Dr. Pingarelli.
Okay, so these are
that's
the
fine.
plans for
Yes,
that.
yes.
Okay,
those three.
have the careers that are going to be in those areas, have the teachers or any of those people who are going to be working in that room, do they have any input into it?
Yes, ma'am, they will. In fact, as soon as those programs are developed with curriculum and instruction, they'll be highly involved with the layout, the equipment, as well as business and industry, and our advisory councils will be all highly involved in that.
Thank you.
Well, members, if there are no further questions, motion in a second. Oh, there are.
Yeah,
Okay.
this was already shared with me earlier before. But can you just kind of get a quick recap as to why we have some of the architectural firms presented exhibits and others haven't? Timeline, scope of work, dollar amounts.
Chairman Pingarelli, Mr. Ramirez, yes, I spoke with Mr. Ramirez earlier on this subject with Orcutt Winslow Architects. It's the Northeast Campus project is quite a complex project, and we haven't quite decided what we're gonna do with that design. So in the best interest of West-MEC, the client, and to protect the architect, we haven't settled on those figures yet for what some of those engineering services and the such are going to cost on that project. We do know the overall cost of the project is gonna be approximately 12 million. Their services are based off of that $12 million mark, which is 6.2%. So we have a breakdown of what those percentages are going to be for the different services that are provided, but we just haven't narrowed those down to put them into an exhibit yet, just again, because of the complexity of the project and not quite sure how we're going to build that project yet.
And then, and then Ms. Siegel advised us as our attorney to hold off and not submit the exhibit because they'll be developed after the board approves the actual contract.
Okay.
So that came directly from her legal advice not to include that yet because there's gonna be some changes as this contract is approved. So I think that's my understanding.
Yes, sir.
Question, Mr. Garcia.
Sure. So just so I understand, so this is basically just the agreements of the award to the architect companies themselves. This isn't the actual design, nor is it the actual budget or the final cost, right?
Chairman Pingarelli, Mr. Garcia, yes, that is correct. So we have not selected contractors for these projects yet. This is just the very first part. We select the architect. Once those architects are on board, then we will put out a solicitation for contractors. Those fees will be determined once we put those two teams together and we all agree on those terms.
And we'll be back speaking about everything else as it steps. Okay, got it.
And it will come back to the board. Yes, great question, very important. Okay, other comments, questions? Hearing none, members, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
As presented.
As presented.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Miclerino.
I'll second.
And Mr. Garcia seconds that.
On the.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah, and we're coming up. I haven't got my box yet.
It's okay, I haven't either.
Mine is not there.
No.
There it is.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Wi-Fi's getting tight.
Okay,
Mine's not,
here's not.
maybe I'm on the wrong page or something.
You gave me a verbal yes or no.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. That's motion passes unanimously. Thank you, members. Next to last, thank you very much. Next to last item is future agenda items. Members request for future agenda items. Mr. Miclerino.
Dr. Pingerelli, it's not a request at this time, but I noticed in the notes from the administration that we're gonna have a form for the board to fill out if we have a question or an agenda item. And as a public official, I really don't want to fill out any forms. If I have something to ask, I'll be glad to ask it in a public meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. And that is a point of discussion right now with the board chairman and administration, and I appreciate that comment. Thank you, Mr. Miglerino. Any other requests for agenda items?
Thank you. I might have one. I'd like to maybe share, I did have a meeting with several people about campus utilization. I think that needs to be shared with the entire board. I'd like to see, you know, how, you know, those little vacant spots, how we can use it with our homeschoolers and our charter schools, how we can fill in those gaps. Also, as well as maybe hybrid learning. I think that's something that.
That's two separate agenda items,
Well-
so let me compartmentalize, so we get it correct from Ms. Brown. So the first item is, do you want a report or a study session or an agenda item on campus utilization? Do you want it for all?
Study session for all of us.
And is it for all campuses, all of our campuses?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that it will give us a better understanding of where we're at and, you know, the need for a southeast campus. And all of that.
Okay, okay, so that's agenda item 1. Ms. Brown, is that pretty straightforward?
She is asking for a study session on campus utilization. That is not an agenda item, so that would be actually a meeting.
A meeting, right, that would be a meeting, but this is the appropriate place to request that. So, okay, let's go to the next. Wait, let me finish with Ms. Bosom, please. You have another item. Hybrid learning.
Well, yes, I would like to see if we had hybrid learning, how else would that affect our campuses as far as, you know, the downtime that we have?
Okay,
How could we incorporate that? I'd like to see, you know, how would that work on our campus?
okay.
Maybe
Okay,
fully utilized.
Would you like that as part of the study session?
Yeah.
just want to make, okay, Ms. Wiley, you have something for
I
us.
just was gonna say, why don't we get a report before we do a study session?
Well, I can allow, Dr. Spurgeon, maybe you can provide some intervention here.
Well, plan on providing that utilization study, we're gonna try to bring in December. So maybe we could do that to see if that helps answer some of those questions, and also we could bring a piece for the hybrid learning. Of course, it's not legal for us to do it now. But the impact of that, so we could bring 2 items for the December meeting.
Okay,
Start from there, and if there's further questions or further study that's needed, we can then determine whether we're gonna have an extra session. We've already talked about that, bringing that for December because of your conversation.
Ms. Bosom, would that satisfy?
Fine.
Do any other board members have comments about that? I would be interested in that too. And I think it would be very helpful for all of us. And I won't make further comment other than I did request that back in 2017. So I think we could use that again. Yes.
It'll be an update, because that was one of my goals last year, so we provided a take you that we've done to make changes moving forward in this year and next year.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Members, any other discussion items? Or future agenda items, excuse me. Dr. Spur,
Just want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving,
happy
since we
Thanksgiving.
won't see
All
you.
right, that's another good.
So I need, with that, gobble, I need we need a motion to adjourn. Okay, so moved. Thank you, members. Thank you very much. And happy Thanksgiving and
Thanksgiving for sure.
and version. Even privately, that way I don't have to go through all the phone calls. Just the 2 of you for, yes, I'm gonna need, yes. I just need Beverly to. Yes, I think Jim, my wife loves your car, but I can't afford that car. Well, I could, but it would wipe me out.
What kind? Another new toy. That was your little Mustang out there. I see.